The protagonist of the story is an ordinary boy who works in an ordinary office named Lin Tian stood patiently beside a zebra crossing, waiting for the traffic light to turn green. Suddenly, a child's balloon slipped from her hand, and she chased after it without realizing she was heading toward an oncoming truck. Lin Tian, witnessing the dangerous situation, swiftly dropped his bag and dashed to rescue her. With his heroic efforts, he managed to save the girl just in time. However, as fate would have it, he ended up being struck by the truck. As Lin Tian's consciousness gradually faded, he caught a glimpse of a tearful girl standing before him, surrounded by a crowd of concerned onlookers. However, fate had other plans in store for him. As Lin Tian took his last breath, he believed it was the end of his journey, but little did he know, it was only the beginning of a new chapter. When his eyes fluttered open, he found himself staring into the captivating gaze of a young man with mesmerizing golden eyes. This enigmatic figure held a golden sword, ominously pointing it toward Lin, declaring that this day would be his last. A crowd had gathered around, their eyes filled with a morbid curiosity, eager to witness his demise. Lin Tian has taken over the body of the world's most evil demonic ancestor Ling Tian. Standing before a crowd, he reflects on his past as a righteous and law-abiding young man, contrasting it with his current status as a despised villain that everyone wants dead. Suddenly, an enigmatic figure launches himself at Lin Tian, carrying his sword in his right hand and uttering for his demise. Lin Tian, believing himself invincible, deems the attack futile. Nevertheless, to his astonishment, the sword penetrates his abdomen, causing him to cry out in pain. Blood escapes his mouth as he coughs uncontrollably, confused by the inexplicable turn of events, wondering why such suffering has occurred to him. A rush of memories floods Lin Tian's mind, revealing a complex past where he was both worshipped and despised by the world. At a remarkably young age of 15, he achieved the pinnacle of the martial emperor realm, earning him the honor of being the youngest martial emperor in history. By the time he turned 17, he had ascended to the formidable martial emperor Great Perfection realm. At the age of 20, he surpassed even those heights, reaching the pinnacle of the martial god realm and establishing the Shen Ming cult, a dominant force in the world that struck fear into the hearts of both good and evil. However, now facing the constraints of a millennium limit, his cultivation has plummeted, pushing him to the brink of death. To his disbelief, his 9 most trusted disciples, whom he considered loyal, have united to betray him. Today, an alliance of renowned sects has seized this opportunity to join forces and eliminate him once and for all. As the enigmatic figure advances, he employs the formidable Tsong Yun One sword technique, enveloping his blade in a radiant blue light, signifying its immense power. However, Ling Tian's attention is suddenly captured by a notification displayed on his purple screen, indicating the activation of the absolute domain system. In an instant, a protective shield with a vibrant purple shade covers Ling Tian, displaying an extraordinary strength that renders the Tsong Yun One sword technique futile. The swords shatter into countless fragments. Overwhelmed with fear, sweat drops down the enigmatic figure's face as he kneels before Ling Tian, holding the shattered remnants of his sword. In utter disbelief, he struggles to understand how Ling Tian has attained a level beyond heaven's realm, believing it impossible. With his red eyes and red demonic horn, Ling Tian fixes a chilling gaze upon the enigmatic figure. His desire to rise above mediocrity is burning within him. Summoning his true power, he unleashes the awe-inspiring Tsong Yun One sword technique. A colossal black sword engulfed in radiant blue light materializes before him, its immense size akin to a towering mountain. Ling Tian grasps the massive weapon with just one hand, showcasing his unparalleled strength. Overwhelmed by fear, the enigmatic figure crumbles, his trembling body a testament to his terror. He pleads for mercy, desperately begging for his life to be spared. The figure's anguished cries reverberate through the air as his body becomes cloaked in a blend of black and radiant blue hues. The impact of the true Tsong Yun One sword technique strikes him with a force that engulfs him in pain. The resulting shockwave rivals that of a mushroom cloud, resembling the aftermath of a miniature nuclear explosion. At that moment, Ling Tian makes a solemn pledge to reclaim all that was taken from him. His resolve burns fiercely as he swears to retrieve everything that rightfully belongs to him. As the crowd gathered at the Shen Ming cult's founding place and witnesses Lin Tian's overwhelming power, panic grips their hearts. Sweating and consumed by fear, they rush down the stairs, constantly glancing over their shoulders, anticipating an attack from Ling Tian. Their minds race, realizing that the rumors they had heard were nothing but falsehoods. Ling Tian's true strength surpasses their wildest imaginations, and he has not lost any of his formidable powers. Observing the chaotic departure from atop the cult's entrance gate, Lin Tian stands resolute. He listens to their frantic shouts, acknowledging their realization of his heightened might and the fact that he has spared their lives. With a decisive leap from the gate, he gracefully lands on the ground below. At that moment, a new notification appears, alerting him that he has successfully completed a task. The system also detects his act of mercy, sparing the innocent, and rewards him with points. As he observes the system, Lin Tian finds the system strange, considering he is known as the world's most evil demonic master, and he gains points for performing good deeds contradictory to his nature. The system also reveals Ling Tian's personal information, his name Ling Tian, his human race, and the alarming fact that he only has 7 hours and 25 minutes remaining in his life. Despite his status as a demonic ancestor and sect leader of the Xianming cult, his cultivation level as a martial god and his power has been depleted, leaving him unable to continue his cultivation journey. To aid him in this dire situation, he possesses a yellow-grade special life extension card and a phantom god's skin, obtained as part of a newbie pack. Ling Tian's emotions turn numb as he comprehends the extent of his power decline and his approaching death. Recognizing the crucial importance of prolonging his life, he decides to utilize the yellow-grade special life extension card. The system congratulates him on his choice and grants him an additional 15 days of life. Although grateful, Ling Tian cannot help but feel frustrated. He curses the system for only granting him such a meager extension. Collecting himself, Ling Tian proceeds to utilize the phantom god's skin, finding the name alone quite impressive. A vibrant lightning-like aura surrounds him as his hair gradually darkens, and his youthful appearance is restored. The system informs him that the phantom god's skin will enable him to maintain his youthful looks indefinitely without impacting his abilities. Ling Tian sighs, acknowledging that such gifts from a newbie pack are to be expected, given that they are offered for free. Out of the blue, a girl comes rushing toward Ling Tian, pleading for his assistance. She possesses a striking appearance, with her snow-white hair cascading around her and adorned in a lovely dress with a flowing skirt. Her captivating blue eyes lock onto Ling Tian, and with outstretched arms, she embraces him tightly. Ling Tian is taken aback and caught off guard by this unexpected encounter. Feeling uncertain of how to react, he remains frozen in place, bewildered by the situation. As the girl continues to hold on to him, a blend of happiness, flattery, and a tinge of embarrassment floods Ling Tian's being. His mind races, trying to make sense of what is happening before him. In her address, the girl refers to him as a senior, appealing for his assistance in escaping someone who wishes to do her harm. A trio of men emerges before Ling Tian and the girl. 2 of the men appear to be his disciples. Their appearance was simple and angry without any weapons. In contrast, the man positioned in the center stands out with his extravagant green hair, clad in a stylish leather outfit complete with a striking belt. He wields a lengthy sword that stretches from his neck down to his legs, along with claw-like appendages attached to his arms, designed for combat purposes. The armed man respectfully addresses Ling Tian as a senior and extends his greetings. He offers apologies for their sudden arrival and proceeds to inquire if Ling Tian is indeed the master and leader of the Xianming cult. The little girl, overwhelmed by fear, begins to sweat, her expression transforming into one of shock, says that great demon. While the little girl trembles in fear, Ling Tian's thoughts drift to the classic trope of a hero saving a damsel in distress, or in this case, a demon saving a beauty. However, his focus quickly shifts to analyzing the leader of the trio. Ling Tian senses the leader's chi flowing harmoniously with nature, indicating his formidable strength at the peak of the martial emperor realm, surpassing Ling Tian in power. Frustration flickers across Ling Tian's face as he realizes that he may not be able to overcome this opponent. Upon grasping Ling Tian's choice, the system swiftly responds with a notification, asserting the requirement to safeguard the girl's life. It emphasizes that Ling Tian cannot tolerate the audacious actions of others upon his desolate mountain. Furthermore, it underscores the significance of rescuing the girl, as her salvation would contribute to the accumulation of future merits. The leader of the trio, Gulongquan, introduces himself and takes responsibility for trespassing on the desolate mountain. He explains that their intrusion was compelled by the girl's actions, accusing her of stealing their secret medicine and causing destruction to their precious treasures. The girl, still clinging to Ling Tian, strongly denies their claims, asserting her innocence. In response, Ling Tian inquires if Gu and his companions are disciples of the ghost cult. Gu proudly reveals that he is the head of the Yulan Hall within the ghost cult, believing that Ling Tian must be intimidated by their notorious reputation as the world's top demonic cult. He assumes that Ling Tian wouldn't dare to defy them for the sake of an unknown woman. Gu is shocked and enraged as he witnesses his disciple being mercilessly stabbed in the head by Ling Tian, who is then rewarded by the system with 50 points for the kill. Holding the sword firmly, Ling Tian proclaims that demons and the ghost cult cannot coexist under the same sky. Gu, filled with a mixture of shock and anger, confronts Ling Tian for his ruthless act of killing without showing any mercy. Before the remaining disciple can comprehend the danger he is in, Ling Tian swiftly moves behind him, preparing to deliver a fatal blow to sever his head from his body. Ling Tian declares that all those affiliated with the ghost cult shall be mercilessly slaughtered. With a swing of his sword, he aims to execute the disciple, but Gu manages to intervene just in time, pulling his disciple away to safety and creating some distance between them and Ling Tian. Ling Tian laments the missed opportunity, thinking that if he had been slightly faster, he could have killed another disciple as well. He considers it a regrettable outcome. Meanwhile, Gu, frustrated and sweating, grinds his teeth and addresses Ling Tian as senior. He questions why Ling Tian is carrying out these ruthless acts and whether this woman is truly worth such extreme actions. Ling Tian responds with a sense of authority, questioning how Gu could dare to act presumptuously in front of him. He asserts that even if the king of the underworld were to appear, he would not dare to question Ling Tian's authority. Despite knowing that his chances of winning in terms of strength are low, Ling Tian believes he can utilize this moment to intimidate and frighten them. Gu, in his response, acknowledges Ling Tian as the master of his ghost cult master and the ancestor of the demonic path. He claims that they have shown politeness and respect towards Ling Tian, emphasizing that he is not afraid of him. Ling Tian drives his sword into the ground, declaring that he will give them one final opportunity to take their disciple and leave the area in a menacing tone. The disciple standing behind Gu becomes overwhelmed with fear, trembling and suggesting to Gu that they should back down in the face of Ling Tian's extraordinary strength. Gu, however, bursts into laughter upon hearing his disciple's fearful words. He advises Ling Tian to stop pretending to be strong, asserting that even though Ling Tian has regained his youthful appearance, his Qi and Dantian are still lifeless. Gu points out that the millennium limit has already weakened Ling Tian considerably. Gu unsheathes his sword, the blade emanating a vibrant blue light as it glimmers before him. Filled with arrogance, he demands that Ling Tian hand over the girl, warning him not to blame the sword for any consequences that may follow. Ling Tian's anger flares, and he meets Ji's gaze with a serious and unwavering stare, claiming that Gu is not qualified to kill this demon. Without hesitation, Gu charges towards Ling Tian, his sword radiating a purple light as he unleashes a swift and powerful technique known as the Peak Celestial Wind and Thunder Blade. Ling Tian is taken aback by the sheer speed of Ji's attack. The girl, visibly concerned for Ling Tian's well-being, anxiously warns him to be careful. With a mixture of excitement and victory on his face, Gu swings his sword toward Ling Tian's head, coming dangerously close to decapitating him. In that split second, a tremendous shockwave reverberates through the air, its impact felt from afar. To his astonishment, Gu begins to tremble in fear as his expression shifts from joy to shock and terror. His sword, too, trembles in his grasp, having stopped only a few centimeters away from beheading Ling Tian. Unfazed, Ling Tian remains motionless, his face empty of any hint of fear, intensifying Ji's anxiety. In the previous episode, Gu was confident that he could defeat Ling Tian, so he used his special blade technique, only to experience failure. As fear gripped his face, his sword began to tremble, as he realized he couldn't move it any further. If you haven't watched the previous video yet, you can find the link above or in the description below. I recommend watching part 1 first to gain a clearer understanding of the story. Ling Tian possesses the incredible power of the absolute domain system, granting him complete control over his surroundings. Within this domain, which currently spans a mere 10 centimeters radius, Ling Tian becomes an unstoppable force, calling himself God. Gu, on the other hand, was unable to penetrate this domain and halted a few centimeters away. As Ji's sword shattered into pieces, his face darkened and trembled, unable to comprehend how his formidable heavenly grade sword technique failed to leave a scratch on Ling Tian. Ling Tian, with an evil expression, explains that even if Gu possessed a heavenly grade rank, it would be child's play for him. Gu finally accepts the validity of the rumors surrounding Ling Tian and realizes that their survival hinges on a swift escape. Sensing Ji's intention to flee, Ling Ting sternly warns him that if he dares to make an escape, he will reduce him to mere cinders. It becomes apparent that Gu belongs to the ghost cult established by Lin Muxuan, the third disciple of Ling Tian. Ling Ting proceeds to enumerate the 3 grave sins committed by Gu on this day. Firstly, Gu displayed disrespect towards his superior Ling Tian. Secondly, he attempted to assassinate his superior in a desperate attempt to gain recognition. And thirdly, he engaged in acts of bullying, even attempting to take the life of a defenseless girl before Ling Ting's very eyes. According to the rules, for these wicked sins, Gu is to be subjected to a punishment where he will be mercilessly dissected, with his heart extracted from his body. Upon hearing the impending punishment, Gu collapses to his knees, desperately pleading with Ling Tian to spare his life. He admits his mistake and accepts the weight of his sins. Ling Tian fixes Gu with a chilling gaze that sends shivers down his spine, making him feel utterly insignificant, like a mere ant. Filled with fear and sensing no other option, Gu retrieves his broken sword and plunges it into his own heart. Witnessing this shocking act, everyone is stunned. Gu, trembling and on the verge of death, manages to request that Ling Tian preserve his body intact before coughing up blood. Ling Tian, in a cold and detached manner, agrees to grant Ji's final wish. Gu finds some comfort in this assurance, expressing gratitude to Ling Tian before succumbing to death on the cold floor. Meanwhile, Ji's subordinate desperately calls out to his hall master but receives no response. Shaken with fear and unsure of his own fate, he remains in a state of uncertainty. Ling Tian, with a commanding tone, orders the subordinate to immediately remove Ji's lifeless body from his sight. Furthermore, he instructs the subordinate to convey a message to his master: Demon Ancestor will soon come for him, so he had better behave until then or prepare to face the consequences, which is death. Expressing immense gratitude to Ling Tian for sparing his life, Ji's subordinate quickly and respectfully collects Ji's lifeless body. With a mixture of relief and fear still coursing through his veins, he hastens to leave the scene. Ling Tian receives a notification indicating the successful completion of a task involving the elimination of those who dared to provoke the great demon, earning him a significant reward of 200 points. Ling Tian's satisfaction surges as he realizes that the unexpected turn of events has yielded a fruitful outcome for him. In the midst of this, Qinxue, the girl whose life he had saved, reaches out to express her heartfelt gratitude. Unable to repay her immense debt, she humbly offers herself as a devoted servant, pledging to fulfill his every need for the rest of her life, to repay him in any way possible. Ling Tian feels a momentary temptation by the offer of unconditional servitude, but he quickly regains control over himself, aware that as the Grandmaster of the demonic Tao, he cannot show any signs of being swayed. He clears his throat and asks Qinxue if she understands where she currently is and whose presence she is in. In response, Qinxue reveals her knowledge that they are in the sacred land of the demonic Tao, the desolate mountains. She also recognizes Ling Tian as the cult leader of the Xianming cult, the #1 cultivator of the demonic Tao, and the renowned great demon, Ancestor Ling Tian. Ling Tian places his hand on his chin, adopts an evil expression to intimidate her, and questions why she is begging him to take her in. He asks if she is not afraid that he might find her presence bothersome and reduce her to ashes. Qinxue is taken aback, trembling with fear, unable to maintain her balance, and falls to her knees. She responds by expressing her belief that even a single drop of kindness should be repaid with a lake of gratitude. She acknowledges that if Ling Tian is willing to save her life will belong to him. Bowing her head, she humbly requests Ling Tian to permit her to serve him faithfully. In the Xianming cult, a wooden finished palace with a beautiful blue-colored roof, inside the palace, Ling Tian closes the palace door and Qinxue is mesmerized seeing the beautiful decoration and interior, but she finds it quite abandoned. When previous Ling Tian started to lose his power, the Xianming cult began to fracture and degraded to this level. Ling Tian instructs Qinxue to explore the surroundings on her own and only call him when the food is ready, as he intends to rest. Qinxue obediently bows her head, acknowledging his instructions, and leaves the room. Once alone, Ling Tian lets out a sigh of relief and requests the system to display his status panel. With a substantial collection of points totaling 1950, he decides to browse the shop, primarily focusing on purchasing life extension cards to increase his remaining lifespan, which is currently a mere 15 days. Although the prices of the cards are exorbitant, Ling Tian chooses to invest in a mystery class grade card, which, when equipped, extends his lifespan by an additional 45 days. Despite feeling like he has been ripped off by the costly purchase, he proceeds to buy a domain card. Upon equipping the expensive card, his domain range expands from 10 centimeters to 20 centimeters. Letting out a desperate sigh, he ponders when he will be able to contain the entire land within his domain. Suddenly, his attention is captivated by a lucky draw opportunity. Each draw consumes 50 points and rewards him with 1 luck point. Once he accumulates 10 luck points, he will be guaranteed a special gift. Recalling his luck in drawing a 4-star empress in his previous life, he excitedly prays for good fortune and, with a trembling finger, presses the button to initiate the lucky draw. The system rewards Ling Tian with luck points as he continues to press the button, persevering until he accumulates the required 10 points. Exhausted and feeling defeated, he lies lifelessly on his bed, overcome by the disappointment of his previous attempts. However, the system informs him that he only has 50 points remaining and asks if he would like to try again. Refusing to give up easily, Ling Tian summons his determination and enters the lucky draw once more. Finally, luck smiles upon him, granting him a reward. Overjoyed, he realizes he has hit the jackpot, acquiring a mystery class martial skill and accumulating the necessary 10 points for a guaranteed reward, all for a total of 550 points. With anticipation, he opens the special reward, revealing a judgment eye. The judgment eye bestows upon its host the ability to assess the loyalty of others toward the host. If any treacherous intent is detected, the host can utilize the power of the judgment eye to administer punishment. Moreover, the effects of the judgment eye are permanent. Equipped with this newfound power, Ling Tian's excitement radiates through his bright eyes. With a surge of enthusiasm, Ling Tian decides it's time to venture out and put his new ability to the test, eager to explore its capabilities. At the dining table, Xinxue presents an appealing display of dishes she has prepared for Ling Tian. Ling Tian acknowledges her culinary skills, noting that they are quite impressive. Xinxue approaches Ling Tian, holding a bowl in her hands, and asks if he has finished resting, inviting him to enjoy the meal as she has completed all the preparations. Curious about Xinxue's loyalty and intentions, Ling Tian employs the power of the judgment eye on her. The eye reveals her name, rank, position, cultivation level, and the techniques she is capable of using, as well as her loyalty towards Ling Tian. However, the system issues a warning, indicating that her loyalty level is below 80%. It prompts Ling Tian to ask if he wishes to execute punishment. Noting the alarmingly low loyalty level of 10%, Ling Tian realizes that Xinxue is the type who would betray him given the chance. Despite this revelation, he decides to pick up a piece of food from the table and takes a bite. To his surprise, the taste of the food evokes memories of his home, delicious and comforting. As he savors the flavors, a side quest is triggered, urging him to uncover the reason why Xinxue approached him and guide her back onto the right path. Ling Tian, feeling a mix of emotions, places his hand on his face upon seeing the side quest prompt, but Xinxue misunderstands, thinking that her food was not to his liking. Nervously, she offers to prepare new dishes right away, hoping to resolve the situation. Ling Tian commands Xinxue to sit, and she complies by taking a seat at the table. He then instructs her to eat, causing her to believe that he wants her to taste how poorly she cooked. However, she had already tasted the food while cooking and found it to be acceptable. Ling Tian adopts a menacing expression and questions why she hasn't eaten her own food, suggesting that he might need to feed her. Xinxue's body trembles with fear, her face turns red, and she closes her eyes, bowing down to accept any punishment. Ling Tian asks if she understands her mistakes and tells her to explain what she did wrong. Nervously, Xinxue describes how she made him taste something terrible and difficult to swallow. Ling Tian forcefully strikes the chopsticks on the table, adopting a serious tone, and asks if that was all. This surprises Xinxue, and she starts sweating in fear, feeling nervous and uncertain about what he is referring to. Ling Tian responds by saying that he will remind her of two things, the Clear Moon Sect and the Clear Lotus Heart technique. Startled, Xinxue quickly rises from her chair, causing it to fall to the ground, and she moves to the floor, trembling and scared. She admits her mistake in hiding this information from him, pleading for him to listen to her explanation. Ling Tian declares that he will give her one chance to explain why she came to the Xin Ning cult. However, he warns her with an intense gaze that if he detects even a hint of dishonesty, he will kill her on the spot. Xinxue explains that she is the inner disciple of Ji Shao, the master of the Clear Moon Sect. About a year ago, when her master went out, he was ambushed by the ghost cult. Despite returning, he died of internal injuries a few months later. The Clear Moon Sect was under the control of Gulongquan, who was part of the Yulan Hall in the ghost cult. He had imprisoned her within the Clear Moon Sect and forced her into a marriage with his son. Overwhelmed by the tragedy of her master's death and the destruction of her sect, she had spent a year planning her revenge. However, she never expected her skills to be so lacking. Understanding her story, Ling Tian concludes that she lured Gu to the desolate mountains, using him to kill Gu and creating a situation where she could save her life. This would give her an excuse to stay in the desolate mountains while seeking revenge.
Qin Shue confirms his assumption.
Ling Tian continues, stating that she risked her life to serve him to find the remaining scrolls of the Lotus Heart Technique and Sword Technique. Her plan was to learn them and then return to the Yulan Hall to seek revenge.
Qin Shue bows her head, acknowledging his insight.
Ling Tian asks if this was the real reason she approached him, leaving her shocked and fearful, unsure of what to say or do. Qin Shue accepts her fate willingly and expresses that it would be her good fortune to die in Ling Tian's hands.
As Ling Tian rises from his chair, a dark and sinister expression on his face, he raises his right hand as if to strike. He declares that he will punish her severely today. Qin Shue closes her eyes in fear, but suddenly, she opens them wide in astonishment, raising her head to see Ling Tian placing a firm hand on her head. Ling Tian declares that from that day forward, Mu Qin Shue is his first disciple in a millennium.
Qin Shue becomes confused upon hearing the term disciple, but Ling Tian explains that she will be responsible for his daily tasks and handling affairs in the future. Overwhelmed with joy, Qin Shue's face turns red and tears fill her eyes. Ling Tian asks if she objects to his decision, but Qin Shue holds his hands and tearfully assures him that she would never dare to refuse, expressing her gratitude for taking her in. She continues to cry in front of him, while he stands there observing her. A new notification appears, stating that Qin Shue's loyalty has increased from 10% to 60%, rewarding Ling Tian with 500 points.
This brings him joy. In addition to the rewards, he has completed 2 more missions.
Influencing people's hearts and uncovering Mu Qin Shue's true purpose in approaching him. These accomplishments grant him an additional 2,000 points, further adding to his happiness. Not content with just that, Ling Tian becomes excited when a side mission is triggered, promising him even more reward points to utilize. In the Azure Dragon Peak, within the headquarters of the ghost cult, the leader of the cult sits on his chair. An informant kneels before him, while several people stand beside a red carpet. The leader questions the informant about the truth of the information he has received. The informant confirms that he witnessed Ling Tian displaying a divine power, using it to subdue all the present sect leaders by himself. They discuss the earlier events described in the story. The informant reveals that Ling Tian even used a finger as a sword to execute the Tsongyan sect's ultimate skill, the Tsongyan One Sword, instantly killing Tsongyan sect leader Li Yuntian.
A white-haired individual asks the informant if Ling Tian was able to defend against the attacks of numerous sect masters simultaneously. The informant confirms this and mentions that despite Ling Tian reaching his cultivation limit, his spiritual power remains incredibly strong. The people standing beside the red carpet start discussing among themselves, marveling at how Ling Tian effortlessly killed a sect master and how his strength seems to be at its peak. The second leader of the ghost cult, Wei Tianchang, expresses that it might be impossible for an ordinary cultivation genius, but since Ling Tian is the great demon Ling Tian, nothing is impossible for him. Suddenly, another person rushes in from the door, bringing an important report. He bows to the sect leader and informs him that Gulongquan, the hall master of the Yulan Hall within the ghost cult, has died in the desolate mountain. Everyone is shocked, not understanding the situation, and urgently asks the person to explain what happened. Ji's subordinate explains the events that unfolded, including Ling Tian's involvement.
He relays the message from Ling Tian that he will come for the sect leader and advises him to behave until then, or else.
The sect leader questions, or else what?
Trembling and filled with fear, Ji's subordinate tightly grips his hands and nervously replies, "He will kill you." Upon hearing these words, the sect leader crushes the cup in his hand, causing blood to drip onto the ground from his wounded hand. He licks his own blood and realizes that the time has come to return and face the old master.
What lies ahead for them as they venture into this mystical world? What do you think will happen next? Don't forget to hit the like button, comment if you want to continue this series, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching.